of the 8th Sangguniang Panlungsod of Malaybalay is now called to order. May I request the Honorable Nico Aldeguer to lead us in the invocation, to be followed by the singing of the national anthem and provincial hymn, to be followed again by the PCL Creed, to be headed by Honorable Nico Aldeguer. Please stand up for the invocation.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty God, our Father, we praise and thank you for this day. You have given us another opportunity to appreciate life and to fulfill our mission as your instruments of peace and progress. Please pardon us for the shortcomings. Help us to amend our iniquities. May we learn to pattern our lives through your Son's example. Father, bless us our endeavors, especially today's session. Guide us in our discussion. Enlighten our minds in every decision that we make. Give us your grace that we may effectively do our parts as public servants. Bless our plans, programs, and projects so that we may achieve our objectives for your greater glory. All this we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, ay nasasilamanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang binirang, kuyagan ang magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng bagaw, ay hinagang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagkikinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may matiginig, lumanang araw ng walhagit pagsika, buhay langit sa piling mo, ang inigaya ng pagkay mangangit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Isan pahintunan, lalang kuhulian, hindi ka bukid nun, kanakabaluan, buntod na matangkad, karasan makupal, at ang amaluan, at tungkay malabway. Bunturan malalayan, pasakan kapatagan, sastuhan kabigyahan, alalayan kauyagan, langit-itim ilang bunga, ikalawan, kalamakan, singan ang ulanan, alalayan, kauyagan. The distant land to see, I long to go back soon to sweet Bukid North. go, where lovely mountains hide, with forests old and grand, bring memories to me, the home I long to see. There my heart yearns to be, in faraway Bukidnon land, under its blue starry skies, where love and joy never die. There my heart yearns to be, in faraway Bukidnon land, under its blue starry skies, where love and joy never die.
May I request everyone to please raise your right hand, and we will recite the Philippine Councilor's Creed in unison. I am a Philippine councilor mandated by law to enact measures and ordinances
that
that
redound
redound
to
to the general welfare of my constituents. In their pursuitful happiness,
peace,
and prosperity, I believe in public service of self as the guiding principle of my official act, and as I tread the pathways of local legislation, may the Almighty guide
my mind and heart,
that I shall be true
to
to my constituents and the Filipino people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Aldeguer. May I request the Secretariat to please the roll, to please call the roll.
Honorable Vice Mayor Jiwarin Arpabiliaran, Honorable Councilor Estileto Armarabe,
Present.
Honorable Councilor Nico P. Aldeguer,
Present.
Honorable Councilor Rindun P. Sanggalang, Honorable Councilor Holly Simon Santo,
present,
Honorable Councilor Erwin E. Damasco,
present,
Honorable Councilor Cromwell Kirel D. Dinlayan, Honorable Councilor Loel M. Tortola,
present,
Honorable Councilor Victor M. Barroso,
Present.
Honorable Councilor Christopher B. Soria,
present, Mr.
Honorable Councilor Kathleen Cecil C. Pagaling,
Present.
Honorable Councilor Bonifacio G. Valiente,
Present,
Honorable Councilor Renato S. Sumbungan, Honorable Councilor Dave Julian A. Balore.
Present.
So, there are 11 members, Your Honor, responding to the call.
Since there are 11 members present, the chair now declares a quorum so ordered. And next item, please, Secretariat.
Approval of the order of business.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, the Honorable Monsanto is recognized.
I move for the approval of the order of business, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Second,
Second.
any amendment,
Ano siya?
discussion,
Okay.
objection? Any amendment? If there's an amendment, hearing none, the motion of Honorable Monsanto to approve the order of business is hereby approved, so ordered. Next item, please.
Reading and approval of the minutes of the 86th and 87th regular sessions held on June 8 and June 15, 2021, respectively.
Yes, the Honorable Monsanto is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move, Mr. Chair, to dispense the oral reading of the minutes of the 86th regular session held on June 8, 2021, as well as the 87th regular session held on June 15, 2021. And instead, Mr. Chair, we will review the same page by page silently, Mr. Chair. I so move.
Any second?
Second.
Any amendment, discussion, objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Monsanto is hereby approved. Let's proceed to the 86th regular session held on June 8, 2021. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. And lastly, page 15. May I know from the body if there's any correction to be made? Since there's none, we will proceed to the next, the 87th regular session. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5.
Recording in progress.
Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. And lastly, page 15. Any correction from the floor? Since there's no correction, yes, the Honorable Monsanto.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there being no corrections, amendments to the minutes of the 86th regular session held on June 8, 2021, as well as the 87th regular session held on June 15, 2021. I move for the approval of the same, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Any second?
Second.
Any amendment, discussion, objection? Hearing none, the chair, the motion of Honorable Monsanto is hereby approved. So ordered. Next item is privilege hour. Anybody from the floor or anybody from the members who would like to avail of the privilege hour?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, Honorable Monsanto. I will give the floor first to Honorable Barroso. Yes, Honorable Barroso, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Before I will give my talk, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say that I cleared this message already with Dr. Sanggalang
Okay.
because it has something to do with the ongoing vaccination. So, Mr. Chair, let me begin. Honorable Presiding Officer and colleagues, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The subject The subject of my privileged talk pertains to the ongoing vaccination program of this city, particularly for the senior citizens. As I was listening to the program of one of the radio stations in this city, it was reported that only more or less 5,000 senior citizens have so far been vaccinated out of the estimated 13,000 senior citizens in the city of Malaybalay. That means about 8,000 senior citizens will still have to be vaccinated. As a result, accordingly, the vaccination of those in the A4 category has to be suspended or delayed until all the majority of the senior citizens are vaccinated. I hope I heard correctly the news reporter. In this regard, I would like to raise to the concerned agency this query. Can those in the A4 category be vaccinated at the same time with the senior citizens and other priorities? If it will take 4 weeks or more to vaccinate the remaining 8,000 senior citizens, then those in the A4 category will have to wait with the same number of weeks. Also, Honorable, by the way, in this particular query, I think the Honorable Dr. Sanggalang said, no, it will be simultaneous. Once the A4 schedule is going to push through, then the A1, all that will can come in simultaneously, but it will not be suspended or delayed. That was the response of Dr. Sanggalang. That's why he said, just give your message, just the same. Then may I proceed, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Honorable Barroso.
Also, Honorable Chair and colleagues, in the same radio news hour, it mentioned about granting of incentives to those who will be vaccinated. In fact, some LGUs, particularly in Metro Manila, have already given incentives to its constituents and even private businesses. Here in Malaybalay City, I know one food establishment granting 10% discount to customers who have been vaccinated. In this connection, I am proposing to pass a resolution to be sponsored by or authored by all members of the Sangguniang Panlungsod. The resolution reads, resolution allowing all barangays, CPUs, poroks, and local offices of public or private, including families and clans, to hold Christmas gathering and other forms of social activities, provided that the herd vaccination immunity required is achieved by their respective places, and subject further to the approval of the National Interagency Task Force. With this, I end my message, Your Honor. Thank you and good day.
Thank you very much, Honorable Barroso, for your privileged speech. Are you, please have a motion to have your speech be adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that my privileged message, be adopted, Your Honor.
Any second?
Second.
Any further discussion, objection? Hearing none,
Discussion,
the motion
Mr.
of
Chair.
Honorable Barroso
Discussion, Mr. Chair.
approved. So,
Discussion, Mr. Chair.
yes,
Discussion.
yes, discussion, Honorable Barroso.
This idea
Yes, go ahead, Honorable Barroso, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, this resolution, I got this idea while listening to the TV newscast that maybe according to the experts, maybe by December, especially in Metro Manila, we will be able to celebrate Christmas, normal, subject of course to the health protocols, if the herd immunity required is achieved. So I got this idea from that television news items, Your Honor. Thank you. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Any discussion from the members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Honorable Tortola.
thank you, Mr. Chair. My only concern, Mr. Chair, is on the last statement, Mr. Chair, of Honorable Barroso, which says that subject for the approval of the national IETF, Mr. Chair. Is that correct, Honorable Barroso?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, can the national easily facilitate the approval? It will
Yes,
be
Honorable.
this approval coming from them. Because national is, I think, it's better if we will pass it through to our local to facilitate the approval for region maybe, or because we might find hard for the approval of that any activity, Mr. Chair.
Yes, any
May I
answer,
respond?
Honorable Barroso?
Yeah. If,
Yes,
if
any
the
response?
local, Mr. Chair, if it is granted by the local IATF, I have no problem with that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Honorable Tortola, do you...
Okay, Mr. Chair, we will just go to the process that it should be one who will secure approval maybe is the local IETF, Mr. Chair.
I believe so. From my point of view, I believe is that the local IETF should have a proposal on this one to be approved by the national IETF. Any compliance of the same as proposed and approved by the national IETF will automatically give that incentive, I believe, because there's already
Yes,
the
Mr. Chair.
proposal as approved. So what is now the IETF local IETF will be looking will be the compliance. Am I correct,
Yes,
Honorable
Mr. Chair.
Barroso?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Compliance of the required immunity.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? So I believe the Honorable Barroso will have your resolution tackled on the other matters. Sir?
Yes, Mr. Chair. If
Okay.
it is.
We will discuss that further in the other matters. Thank you very much, Honorable Barroso. The Honorable Monsanto is highly recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My greetings to the presiding officer, to the members of the SANGGUNIANG PANLUNGSOD, the City of Malaybalay, the staff, and all the people who might be tuning in for today's session. This is actually, Mr. Chair, a review or some sort of a reminder, because at the start of the session, the first day that we assumed office after we have been elected and after we have taken our oath, Mr. Chair, on the first session that we have conducted, I made a privileged speech, and I was calling and I was bringing the matter, Mr. Chair, with regards to the, I don't know how many years, the issue involving the boundary conflict of Malaybalay City, particularly the new Ilocos area and that of the Impalutao, Mr. Chair. During my privilege then, I was able to secure and even presented some documents to show that the matter which has been pending before the office of the SANGGUNIANG Panlalawigan has been put in archive, meaning to say they have suspended any proceedings with respect to that matter, or we do not know what are the reasons they have advanced to that. And the pendency of the archiving of the said case, Mr. Chair, as to the boundary conflict has been dragging for several years. And there are some barangay officials from both sides who was able to talk to me, and they have been asking if we could do something on that. That is why on my privilege speech, the very first time that we convened after being elected, Mr. Chair, I brought this matter. Now, when I checked with the Sangguniang Panlungsod of Malaybay as to the status of that issue, I was told that the last incident after my privilege speech was to convene the committee as a whole to tackle or to resolve that matter I raised. But up to this time, I did not hear any invitation of who will be the one heading the committee as a whole that will take up that matter, Mr. Chair. We are about to end our term, yet no action has been taken. I was able to talk to of the barangay officials of Daluwangan, and particularly in the New Ilocos area, and they have been making some follow-ups with me. So I prepare to have this matter raised again, and hopefully, if we cannot convene the committee as a whole, Mr. Chair, then in the other matters, Mr. Chair, I will be personally sponsoring a resolution asking the Sangguniang Panlalawigan to revive the case so that the issue as to the boundary conflict between Malaybalay and Impasugong, particularly Sitio New Ilocos and that of Impalutaw, can be properly heard. I am making this proposal since we, the member of the Sangguniang Panlungsod of Malaybalay City, can make the proper representations or can even argue the points and the evidence which the Malaybalay City can offer to prove that indeed we are entitled to the disputed area, Mr. Chair. So, in the other matter, Mr. Chair, I will be proposing that resolution asking the Sangguniang Panlalawigan to revive the long archived case of the boundary conflict between Malaybalay City and the municipality of Impasugong, Mr. Chair. That is only my short privileged speech, Mr. Chair, and I am moving that the same be adopted as part of the records and the annals of the Sangguniang Panlungsod. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you very much,
Second.
Honorable Buchanto. Any second to the motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable to have privileged speech be adopted is hereby approved. So ordered. Honorable Monsanto, are you open for discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if there are some members of the council who will be asking some points regarding my privileged speech, Mr. Chair, I'm very much willing to accommodate.
May I very much, Honorable Monsanto, may I call on Honorable Valiente?
Yes, Mr. Chair, may hapon.
Do you have anything to say about the privileged speech of Honorable Monsanto? Because I can still remember that you touched on this once.
Yes, Mr. Chair, pero ang naitabo,
Yes, Honorable Valiente.
dili man ko jurisdiction sa ato, kaya ang conflict area is between Impasugong ug Malaybalay. And that case nga gusto ni Atty. Monsanto, ni Kunsihal, na i-dig up siya, is a resolution padulong sa Sangguniang Panlalawigan para ma-take up, para ang duha ka disputed area, dito ang venue. Karon, kung ato og musulod ang city government of Malaybalay, kita as nga mo'y magpatunga, wala sa jurisdiction, Mr. Chair. So ang resolution ni Atty. Monsanto, much better o pinaka-the best kung ang Sangguniang Panlalawigan ang muhatag og signal nga pwede nato o kayon for another validation of his butad, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Resolution.
Yeah. Yes, can I answer, Mr. Chair? Can I say something? Mr. Chair, can I
Yes,
say
Honorable
something?
Masanto.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Actually, the point of Honorable Valiente
Yes.
is correct, Mr. Chair. We cannot just entertain the city of Malaybalay cannot acquire jurisdiction on the issue because this is a conflict between two different jurisdictions, Mr. Chair. The city of Malaybalay and that of the municipality of Impasugong. Actually, this case has already been lodged. There was already a case filed before the office of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Mr. Chair. But I do not know why they are suspending the proceedings. Actually, they have already started the proceedings. In fact, the last incident was that the municipality of Impasugong was asking for a 15-day period to submit their documents. And after that, the case, I do not know if the municipality of Impasugong has submitted their documents, but the resolution of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan was to archive this case, meaning to say to suspend the proceedings. And I do not know what was the reason of the then members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan for that. So the suspension or the archiving of the case, Mr. Chair, kanang sabi ni sa pamuragitan ugan ang kaso, has lasted for several years already. I believe murag almost 15 years. Wa gid na malihok dito. So the last incident I believe was, I don't know if it was to 2010, 27 or 2007 or what. Basta kaya ako lang point ani, just to remind them, the members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, to please revive that case, and we will hear and we will see, we as members of the Sangguniang Panlungsod o Malaybalay, we will see kung unsa ba ang mga evidences po nga gi-offer sa Impasugong, because as far as City of Malaybalay is concerned, we have already submitted our evidence. So kana lang akong point. Thank you, Honorable Valiente, and I hope to work with Honorable Valiente on this matter side by side, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you on that, Honorable Masanto. May I just ask from the chair, who filed first the complaint in the Sangguniang Panlalawigan?
I think, I'm not sure, Mr. Chair, but I believe it was Malaybalay. It was the City of Malaybalay, Mr. Chair. Because the municipality of Impasugong was the one asking for time within which to submit their documents also. So I will be, if there will be no more. Okay, Mr.
Chair. I'm sorry because of the signal, Honorable Masanto.
Okay. I will just be making, Mr. Chair, the proper resolution during the other matters, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Lastly, Honorable Monsanto, in our existing committee in the Sangguniang Panlungsod, what do you think is a proper committee this issue belongs to?
Since this involves boundary, Mr. Chair, and if we focus on one area concerned, it refers to that boundary in Pasugong. I mean in Dalwangan, Sitio New Ilocos. I believe, Mr. Chair, the Committee on Barangay Affairs as one of the committee to look on this matter, Mr. Chair. And probably also we will engage also my committee, the Committee on Laws, because we want to check on the charter or the law creating in Pasugong, and the charter or the law creating Malaybalay also. That has to be considered. But
Thank you very much. Yeah.
As proposed, Mr. Chair, it was supposed to be a committee as a whole. But for purposes
as a whole, yes,
but for purposes of issuing or coming up with a resolution requesting the Sangguniang Panlalawigan to revive this case, then my committee, Mr. Chair, will be the one, or I hope we can join all of the members of the council can join, Mr. Chair. This will be a joint sponsorship resolution, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I am just asking on that, Honorable Santo, because if ever this will drag a little more, we will know the committees that will be assigned, if ever, no? Aside from we're tackling it as committee as a whole.
Yeah,
So
Mr. Chair.
that's all, Honorable Santo.
Thank you very much,
Any
Mr.
other
Chair.
query? Thank you very much, Honorable Santo. Any other query from the floor? I think there's no longer or there's none. So thank you very much, Honorable Monsanto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Secretariat, next item, please.
Question hour, Your Honor. We have no invited guests.
Okay. Next item.
First reading and referral of proposed measures and other communications.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
We have here a referral, Ordinance Number 1, Series of 2021 of Barangay Miglamin, entitled Ordinance of Increasing the Payment of Kasabutan sa pagbaligya sa yuta, pagprinda sa yuta, pag-abang sa yuta, pagbaligya sa mga hayop ug pagputol sa kahoy ug uban pa.
To the Committee on Codification Rules and Laws.
Communications. Letter dated June 25, 2021 of Arlene A. Ho, City Budget Officer, submitting to the Sangguniang Panlungsod members for legislative authorization and approval the Supplemental Budget Number 1, Calendar Year 2021 of Barangays Bangkud and Lagitas.
To the Committee on Finance, Bank Accounts and Appropriations.
Executive Order Number 140, Series of 2021 of Honorable City Mayor Florencio T. Flores Jr., copy furnished the Sangguniang Panlungsod, an executive order reconstituting the Program on Awards and Incentives for Service Excellence, Praise, Committee in the City Government of Malaybalay.
For information.
Second endorsement dated June 23, 2021 of Honorable City Mayor Florencio T. Flores Jr., endorsing to the Sangguniang Panlungsod members the Memorandum of Agreement between the Department of Science and Technology and the City Government of Malaybalay regarding the Advancing Science for Convergence of Agriculture and Tourism in MKATF Phase 2.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Agrarian Reform.
First endorsement dated June 2021 of Honorable City Mayor Florencio T. Flores Jr., endorsing to the Sangguniang Panlungsod members through the presiding officer, Honorable Jiwarin R. Pabillaran, City Vice Mayor, the herein letter of intent of Mr. Carlito M. Rodano of Barangay Kasisang, the city, regarding his application for Sports Arena Complex.
To be referred to the Committee on Human Settlement, Zoning, and Land Use.
Letter dated June 28 of City Budget Officer Arlene Ho, submitting to the Sangguniang Panlungsod members for legislative authorization and approval the Supplemental Budget Number 1, Calendar Year 2021 of Barangay 3 and Barangay San Jose.
To the Committee on Finance, Bank Accounts, and Appropriations.
Second endorsement dated June 23, 2021 of Honorable City Mayor Florencio T. Flores Jr., endorsing to the Sangguniang Panlungsod members the Memorandum of Understanding between the City Government of Malaybalay and Bukidnon State University regarding the Sustainable Livelihood Program.
To the Committee on Health and Social Welfare Services.
Letter dated June 22, 2021 of CPDO Adrian R. Gamboa, submitting to the Sangguniang Panlungsod for legislative approval and the application of BCDO Realty Corporation for alteration of Pinewood Subdivision Plan Phase 2.
To the Committee on Human Settlement, Zoning, and Land Use.
ERC case number 2018-028 regarding the application for the approval of contingency capital expenditure project of the Bukidnon Second Electric Cooperative.
To the Committee on Public Utilities.
Memorandum to Ms. Arlene A. Ho, City Budget Officer, from the City Mayor, copy furnished the Sangguniang Panlungsod Chairman of the Committee on Appropriation, in connection to her letter dated June 3, 2021, regarding the payment of wages for job order employees rendering services beyond 22 days in a month.
To the Committee on Finance, Bank Accounts, and Appropriations.
That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Honorable Monsanto, you are recognized. Honorable. Yes. Honorable Tortola. Honorable Tortola, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move for the approval of the referrals and communication, and be it considered having passed for its first reading, Mr. Chair. I so move.
Any second?
Second.
Any amendment, discussion, objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Tortola is hereby approved, so ordered. Next item, please.
Committee report of the Committee on Finance, Bank Accounts, and Appropriations. Proposed resolution approving the supplemental budget number 1, calendar year 2021 of barangays, Poblacion 7, 9, and Kabangahan.
The Honorable Tortola is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In behalf of the Committee of Finance, Banking, Accounts, and Appropriation, Mr. Chair, I would like to refer our this pertains to the letter dated 2020-041 of June 21, 2021 of Ms. Arlene Ho, our City Budget Officer, submitting to the Sanggunian members for legislative authorization and approval the supplemental budget number 1 for current year 2021 of Barangay Poblacion 7, Barangay 9, and Barangay Kabangahan. The committee reviewed and discussed the different proposed supplemental budget of the mentioned barangays and ascertained that the said different proposed supplemental budget been prepared in accordance to all budgetary requirements as certified true and correct by the local finance committee, and subject further for the condition that disbursement will be within the bounds of the law, specific guidelines, issuances, auditing rules and regulation, and provision in accordance with IRR of Republic Act 7160. After the committee hearing, it was decided to pass and approve the supplemental budget of Barangay 7, Barangay 9, and Barangay Kabangahan. I move for the adoption of my committee report, Mr. Chair.
Any second?
Second.
Any amendment? Discussion? Objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Tortola to have his committee report be adopted is hereby approved, so ordered. What's the recommendation of the gentleman from Barangay 1?
Recommendation, Mr. Chair, since this is an urgent matter, Mr. Chair, I move to suspend the reading rule, Mr. Chair.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? Objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Tortola to have the 3 reading rules be suspended is hereby approved, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Tortola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, Mr. Chair, I move to pass an urgent resolution for legislative authorization and approval of the supplemental budget number 1 for the current year 2021 of the Barangay Poblacion 7, Barangay Poblacion 9, and Barangay Kabangahan. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Any second? Any amendment? Any discussion? Objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Tortola to have his recommendation of his committee report be adopted is hereby approved. So ordered. Since we are on a third reading, those who are in favor, please raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Unanimously approved. So ordered. Thank you very much, Honorable Tortola. Next item, please.
We have no calendar of business, Your Honor, so we proceed to other matters.
Yes, on the other matters, I believe the Honorable Barroso would like to present his resolution. You have the floor, Honorable Barroso.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Your Honor and colleagues. As I said earlier, I intend to pass and have it approved a resolution which reads, resolution allowing all barangays, sitios, purocks, and local offices, public or private, including families and clans, to hold Christmas gatherings and other forms of social activities, provided that the herd vaccination immunity required is achieved by the respective places and subject further to the approval by the local IATF. So moved, Your Honor.
Any second? Any second for the motion of Honorable Barroso?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the...
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Honorable Sanggalang is recognized.
thank you so much. I just have a comment, Mr. Chair. We are allowing a Christmas gathering as long as it is allowed by the local IATF. Is that the proposal?
Yes, Honorable Barroso, can you answer that?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
I believe
Actually,
there's
originally, Mr. Chair, I said my original was subject to approval by the national IATF. But in the course of the discussion earlier, Honorable Tortola suggested that if it is possible, just to have it approved by the local IATF. So, and by the way, Mr. Chair, the idea of this resolution, I got it from our TV news items wherein it said from the national news that possibly according to the authorities there, that by December, it is possible if the herd immunity requirement is achieved, especially in Metro Manila, they might be able to celebrate Christmas. So this idea came from these items, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Yes.
For me, Mr. Chair,
Honorable Sanggalang.
for me, Mr. Chair, it is still premature for us to issue such kind of resolution. We are only in the month of June, or next days from now, it will be July. But still, it's 6 months away, Mr. Chair, to issue such a resolution when Christmas will come. And there's really no assurance that the herd immunity will be obtained before Christmas. In fact, it is only a possibility in Metro Manila. We all know, Mr. Chair, that in provinces like the province of Bukidnon, including the city of Malaybalay, the vaccine here is limited ang numbers nga gahatag sa atua. So it is really not possible for us to attain, although I'm hoping that we will have herd immunity by that time, but for me, it is just premature, Mr. Chair. We can issue this resolution
Yes. Any comment
when Christmas is closer.
Mr. Chair. Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Honorable
Mr. Chair.
Barroso, you can answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, you will note in the resolution, it says, provided that the herd vaccination immunity is required, is The herd
Achieve.
immunity required is achieved. There is that proviso in that resolution. So it is what we're saying is futuristic, just in case. And there is that provision in the resolution, Mr. Chair.
May I have a follow-up inquiry, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Go ahead, Honorable Sanggalang.
If we are talking about herd immunity, are we talking about the national herd immunity, local herd immunity, or just the city of Malaybalay, or the barangay who will be allowed to have a Christmas gathering?
It will be based on the nationally
Go ahead, Honorable Barroso.
criteria, Mr. Chair. Sorry, it will be based on the whatever is the decision of the national, of course, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and may I add, Honorable Sanggalang, I
Chair,
believe
can I say something, Mr. Chair?
resolution, kajit lang ha, the resolution of Honorable Barroso was talking about herd immunity in a certain barangay or community. He's not talking about the national. If I'm correct, Honorable Barroso?
Yes, Mr. Chair. But of course, it will be
Yes, Honorable
based on
Sanggalang.
the nationally declared. It will be based on the nationally declared immunity, which I think in the national it says about 70% or 80%. That's what my understanding is, Mr. Chair.
May I have a follow-up, Mr. Chair?
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Honorable Sanggalang.
If we are, say for example, the national government will say that there's already 70% herd immunity. However, if a particular barangay in the city of Malaybalay is not among those barangays that are part of that 70%, how are we going to have a gathering like that, Mr. Chair? That's my concern.
Yeah, Honorable Barroso.
Yeah, it's only for those barangays and other places that have obtained the required herd immunity requirement. For those who will not be able to achieve it, then they will not be allowed. And I think that's the responsibility already of the local IATF to identify which of these barangays can celebrate their Christmas, Mr. Chair. So it's not all,
Yes.
only those
Who achieve.
achieve the required.
Thank you. Yes, do you have any follow-up
So-
question, Honorable Sanggalang?
Meaning to say, Mr. Chair, that aside from the fact that the national government will issue a declaration that there is a 70% immunity, there must also be a backing up coming from the local IATF that in fact this barangay 20% herd immunity.
I believe that's the I don't know, Honorable Barroso. Can you answer to that query of Honorable Sanggalang?
In fact, at the end of the resolution, I said, subject further to the approval of the local IATF, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Honorable
can I-
Honorable Tortola.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Because after hearing...
Honorable Tortola, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think after hearing the privileged speech of Honorable Barroso, I got the idea that he's thinking of this objective is a sort of motivation,
Incentive.
meaning to encourage more for the vaccination especially regarding Christmas. Ang gandaan ng reunion is ang mga clan. So, a sort of encouragement or motivation, ilang pabaksinan ang ilang mga relatives, ilang ipa-encourage nga ipabaksin, so that by the time we will have Christmas, most of them are already vaccinated. And that it will be still subject with the approval of the IATF. But the idea, I think, is just a sort of motivation, Mr. Chair. So we can have encouragement, especially on our relatives, to have the new normal
by this coming December, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Chair.
you.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Uh,
Mr. Chair,
yeah, I will give
Mr. Chair.
the floor first to Honorable Barroso to react on that. Yes, go ahead, Honorable Barroso.
Yeah, in fact, earlier in my message, I was talking about incentives. Incentives given by some LGUs in Metro Manila and even in our own place now here, where in some one food establishment I know give 10% discount to customers. And this resolution is a form of incentive so that the barangay leaders, especially Purok leaders, because right now we are having difficulty in convincing some of our citizens to submit to vaccination. And with this incentive, our barangay leaders, Purok leaders, and other leaders will be encouraged to enjoin members of the community to submit to vaccination. Because I know that this is the difficulty now, even of the national government, even in Metro Manila, of encouraging people to submit to vaccination. And this resolution will in one way. That's why this early, we would like to have this resolution, Mr. Chair, so that up to the time we will be able to achieve the herd requirement for this immunization, Mr. Chair. So I agree with Honorable Tortola that this is actually a form of incentive, Mr. Chair. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Honorable Aldiger is recognized. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I understand the point of the Honorable Barroso, Mr. Chair, with regards to the incentives. But in the first point, Mr. Chair, there is no difficulty of convincing the citizens to get vaccinated. Where in fact, for a fact, Mr. Chair, ang problema nato dili man ang pag-convince sa karon. Ang problema nato is we are lacking of supply of vaccines. So dili na to makita ang December kung ang supply sa vaccines is limited. That is why, Mr. Chair, so far, Mr. Chair, we are getting high every day, Mr. Chair, during the vaccination campaign, Mr. Chair, wala tay vaccination site nga gaka-short og tawo. Gaka-short og tawo, Mr. Chair. Meaning, overwhelmed permi ang kapabaksin. Where in fact, Mr. Chair, there are instances, Mr. Chair, that ang nabaksinan is moabot to mostly, more or less, Mr. Chair, 1,000 plus, Mr. Chair. So, I think, Mr. Chair, the point of giving an incentives is a very good point, Mr. Chair. But with this matter, Mr. Chair, for me, Mr. Chair, on the point of providing, if ever the said barangay achieves the herd immunity, that is one query I would like to ask, Mr. Chair, if in connection to the query of the Honorable Sanggalang, pwede man mo declare ang national government of 80% herd immunity, but not to the point nga tanan city of Balay-Balay maabot ang herd immunity. It is a total accumulation of whole Philippines, Mr. Chair, but dili po na mag-reflect sa numbers sa ato ang city if ever ma-achieve dato ng 80%. Kung na-achieve ang 80% sa whole over Philippines, Mr. Chair. That is why, Mr. Chair, ang problema nato karon, Mr. Di man ang pagpabaksin, ang vaccine itself, Mr. Chair. That is why, Mr. Chair, to that point, Mr. Chair, it is very discriminatory, Mr. Chair, to other barangays. If ever ka na nga barangay ma-achieve nilang herd immunity, o ka na nga barangay, di po nila ma-achieve nilang herd immunity because it is not their fault, Mr. Chair. In the first place, Mr. Chair, we should take the point, Mr. Chair, that we must first place assured nga naagid tay vaccine. And then, ang atong balaan, Mr. Chair, based on the forecast, the steady supply of the vaccine will arrive at September and October. So it doesn't mean, Mr. Chair, nga tanan po na mabubo sa Bukidnon or sa Balay-Balay, Mr. Chair. As long as other cities or other communities is not safe, even those people who are herd barangays or herd immunity barangays, it's not safe also again, Mr. Chair. So to me, Mr. Chair, I agree to the Honorable Sanggalang that it is premature, Mr. Chair. There are other ways to give an incentives, Mr. Chair. But today, Mr. Chair, the resolution itself is very premature, Mr. Chair. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Barroso, you want?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like, of course, I agree with the Honorable Aldiger that it will depend on the supply. But as of this moment, as reported, as I have said earlier, that out of the 13,000 estimated senior citizens, only 5,000 have been vaccinated. And it's not because there is no, I think, our local agency will not accept that we lack. There is the vaccine, but because of the some senior citizens are afraid, perhaps. Now, I just would like to mention sometime when Dr. Sanggalang was with us, sometime one of our sessions, he mentioned about the mobile vaccination in some barangays. He mentioned about San Jose, Bangkod, and they were expecting this number of senior citizens to come, but only few submitted themselves. But they have this number of vaccines available. So what happened? So I am sure that, in fact, the National Secretary Galvez, the one in charge, assured us that by sometime before the year ends, he will be able to secure the required number of vaccines for this herd immunization, Mr. Chair. If we have been reading the papers, we have been listening to the assurance of our national officers that we will be able to achieve the herd immunity requirement, Mr. Chair. So I believe that it's not, while it is perhaps some supplies, but I'm sure we will be able to receive the supply. And the idea is so that our people will be prepared, will be encouraged to submit themselves. In fact, we have to conduct more information drive for our citizens to submit, not to be afraid, because this immunization is for protection, not for other else, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Any more discussion from the floor?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Honorable
sort
Valiente.
of information lang po. Mr. Chair, actually the other week, we conducted the 46 barangay captains together with Aldrich Salaan, Sir Aldrich, na gibalik o emphasize ang pag-drive, information drive sa kada barangay. Well, in fact, gani ang atong executive order nag-ingon po na below 18 years old, 65 up, dili kagawas kung kaning mahitabo nga dili vaccinated po sila. Dumag ni. So it's up to the barangay nga madungag ang information. Wala kasi Kunsel Vic, sakto to si Kunsel Nico, kay gani pa man kung ang pagsugod kuha na to ang target nga 97 or 98% sa to ang dili na ta mabahawan, wa po na to ma-sign. Karon lang bag-o, gausab-usab din na to mabasol ang senior citizen kay ang information dili pa kayo sulod sa ilang kasing-kasing nga magpabaksin, fear ang nasa ila. Now karon pag hatag sa executive order na to, alayon sa executive order ni President Digong na maabot man gid ni. Tanang senior citizen kanang mga retired nga government official maabot gyud na dili gina sila kagawas, dili gina sila ka-claim any benefits kung wala ng card makita. Kay mao naman ang masunod tanawon man. So karon mo na among ginabalik karon sa barangay sa mga senior citizen. Na kung dili sila mahinganyo pa vaksin, dili gid sila makagawas sa ilahang mga balay. Mao man ang mode sa among discussion katong meeting held last week na ang pagpasabot balik. So barangay gid ang naay dako nga rule para magpasabot ning kaning gitawan nato nga herd immunity pag-abot sa panahon, Mr. Chair. Barangay gid, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Thank you, Honorable Valiente. Okay. Honorable Barroso, do you have anything to say to that?
Yes, in addition, Mr. Chair. In fact, this kind of incentive...
Honorable Barroso.
Yes, Mr. Chair. In fact, Mr. Chair, if you will notice,
Yes.
if you have observed, the Metro Manila LGUs have already, some of them have already granted incentives, different form of incentives to the constituents, like giving rice allowance and other forms, just so that their constituents will submit to the vaccination program of the government. So I think it's not too early for us to make this proposal, giving incentive to our constituents this early so that they can prepare.
Okay. Honorable Barroso, do you, from the chair, no? What I have observed is that the big disparity in vaccination is more on the senior citizen. Can the chair ask the indulgence of the proponent that we will focus more on the senior citizen issue, where I've heard a lot that senior citizens have this fear of being vaccinated. But in the overall population, if you may ask, I think we really run out of vaccines. No, in fact, I experienced it myself. The regular guys, no, not the senior citizen, the frontliners have a hard time having their vaccination. Usually, ang atong A1 is the frontliners, A2 is the senior citizen. That is why we are now on A3 and A4, because senior citizen failed to show up 100%. So naman ko'y mahadlo kay, we cannot really blame these people. Can we focus our incentives and motivation to senior citizens so that they will be able, we will be able to inspire them to have the vaccination? Most especially, as you mentioned, there are still 8,000 plus senior citizens.
Mr. Chair,
Honorable Barroso.
Mr. Chair, am I allowed to add on that matter, Mr. Chair, with regards to the senior
Yes.
citizen? Mr. Chair?
Okay. Go ahead.
May I continue? Yes, because
Yeah.
it is in that connection, Mr. Chair. Actually, Mr. Chair, last Saturday, I've heard from our from the Department of the City Health Office, Mr. Chair, from Mr. Sunny, no, not Dr. Sanggalang, Mr. Chair, from Mr. Sunny Manuel. Mr. Chair. Sunny Manuel. Actually, Mr.
Manuel.
Chair, Dr. Barroso or the Honorable Barroso is correct that there are only 5,000 senior citizens vaccinated for first dose. Actually, there are around 2,000 or 3,000 senior citizens that is fully vaccinated. So that is why, Mr. Chair, I suggested, Mr. Chair, and I will be suggesting this to the IETF, that because based on our experience, Mr. Chair, during the Kalinga para kay Lolo at Lola, we have the vaccination for pneumonia vaccines, Mr. Chair. Actually, based on the records of the barangay, Mr. Chair, most especially katong mga parplang barangays, Mr. Chair, kasagara sa atong gakabaksinan sa pneumonia vaccine, Mr. Chair, is around to 60 to 70% sa senior citizen. Meaning, daghan pa senior citizen nga wala gapon mabaksinan sa pneumonia vaccine. The first problem that we encounter, Mr. Chair, is comfort. Most especially karon, Mr. Chair, nga ang vaccination site is nara sa Malaybalay City. Daghang senior citizen nga kapuyan po sila maglinya, kapuyan sila moadto sa Malaybalay. That is why kung moabot na ang time, Mr. Chair, nga mag-steady na ang supply sa itong vaccine, I think the government or the city health office, Mr. Chair, is prepared nga mag-barangay by barangay. That is why, Mr. Chair, kanang atong mobile nga vaccination, there is a jump, Mr. Chair, na dapat kapabaksin nga mga senior citizens. First is ang comfort nga di na sila kinanglan mo layo. That is why, Mr. Chair, I am suggesting later on in the IATF, when the Kalinga will resume, Mr. Chair, since all of the participants are senior citizen and it is per barangay, Mr. Chair, that they should allocate or they can allocate a portion of the vaccines for COVID vaccines for the senior citizen, because it is the right time mabaksin natong senior citizen. At the same time, we will not allocate any more funds for our incentives, Mr. Chair, because the DSWD is providing food packs and other incentives giving to the senior citizen, so that we will not incur additional expenses, Mr. Chair, if that's the point of the Honorable Barroso, Mr. Chair.
Okay. May I ask the Honorable Barroso for his comment? So we
Thank
can
you.
settle the...
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. First of all, I would like to say that is the incentive that I am referring to in this resolution does not involve any money, Mr. Chair. It does not involve.
Yes.
It does not involve any money on the part of the city government. On the part of the city government, no money is involved. This resolution is not. This resolution is not only confined to the senior citizens, Mr. Chair. It pertains to all, to the community, all those who are in the priority list. That is why it says the herd vaccination requirement to be achieved. It is not only for the senior citizens, but all. So in the case of, because let us say that there are 1,000, the allocation for the senior citizens is 1,000 vaccines, Mr. Chair. And there are only about 200 or 300 who will submit for vaccination. What will happen to the remaining vaccines that will not be applied if we will not use that for the other priorities like the A4, Mr. Chair? That will be wasted. That's why I was, my observation is that, my query is, why can't we now? Because we already have given the priorities to A1, A2, A3 in Manila. And we're supposed to be now in A4 in Manila. It's already in Metro Manila. It's already A4. Now, although
Yes.
when you say A4, Mr. Chair, it does not mean that we will not entertain anymore. If there are senior citizens and other that will come in, they will always be given the priority, Mr. Chair. But what we are talking here is the allocation that's being given by the government. We can, as I said, I repeat, Mr. Chair, if there are 1,000, the allocation for the senior citizens is 1,000 vaccines for a certain day, and there are only about 200 or 300 who will submit for vaccination, what will happen to the remaining 700 vaccines? We will wait again for the next day. There are already A4 constituents who are just waiting for them to be called to be vaccinated, Mr. Chair. That's my understanding, Mr. Chair. That's why this herd immunization I am referring to is for the total community, not only for the senior citizens, Mr. Chair. This incentive is for not only for the seniors, but for the community. And it is going to be selective, Mr. Chair. For those, there is no discrimination on this part, Mr. Chair, because it depends on the leadership of the different barangays, Mr. Chair. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any objection? Any objection to the motion of Honorable Barroso? Any objection to the motion of Honorable Barroso?
What's the motion, Mr. Chair, to pass a resolution or to adopt the report?
The motion is to pass a resolution as read earlier by the Honorable Barroso. We already passed the discussion.
Okay, I submit my objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Since there is an objection, I believe we have to divide the House. We will. I think this is the right. May I know from the floor, please, those who are in favor of the motion of
Mr. Chair,
Honorable Barroso.
Point of the order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, this resolution is still on the first reading, Mr. Chair.
No, I believe there was a discussion earlier that he would like to pass it this session. So more or less, he will avail of the suspension of the 3 reading rules. That's what I understand, Honorable Aldegar.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Go ahead, Honorable Santo.
Yes. I believe the matters in issue now, Mr. Chair, is to pass that resolution, giving the privilege to have a Christmas program or activity in those places, family, clans, or sector, provided that they can have or they can show something that they have already availed of a certain percentage of the vaccination. That is what I understand, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the issue now being raised by the Honorable Sanggalang as supported by Honorable Aldegar is that this is too
Early.
I believe that it is too early or premature. To put that. Although the counter argument of Honorable Barroso is that this is to encourage, to motivate, especially the senior citizen. But actually, Mr. Chair, kung natong gatanahon ang character nato din, bisan pag wala makaagig vaccination o mutapok gayud, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of groups who violated already this one. Wala pa gani kabot ang vaccination, daghan ang tapok-tapok. In fact, di kita nang lakaw na ganing uban, nag-adto na ganing mga suroy-suroy na ganing uban, even some of the departments of the city of Malaybalay. Bisan wala pa vaccination. So this is not, I believe, Mr. Chair, while the idea of the Honorable Barroso is good, but actually, Mr. Chair, I don't think so that this will encourage people to continue to have that vaccination, even if we will pass this resolution, Mr. Chair. What we need now, Mr. Chair, is the strong hand of implementation so that those people who are not cooperative then, there should be something for them. Not para mang murag ginahapuhap na to ning mga tao nga are not cooperating with the program and the effort of the local government to have this vaccination, Mr. Chair. So, but to be fair, Mr. Chair, I would like, if I may, we should defer this first and then let us talk with the IETF. Let us talk with the IETF, Mr. Chair, and if they can present, if they can present to us some other options or alternative to encourage these non-cooperative residents of Malaybalay to submit themselves to vaccinations, then we will go for it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Honorable Barroso?
Yeah. Anyway, Mr. Chair, we have...
have you heard, can we defer this matter first?
Yeah.
And we will refer it to the local IETF. I think they are the right agency to know what are the steps to be implemented to have more people to be vaccinated. If we will defer this, and I will ask Attorney Sanggalang to withdraw the objection.
Well, Mr. Chair, if that, although, while I'll see the reasons for the, shall we say, objection to this, as I said, this is only an early as to encourage, to motivate our people to submit to vaccination of the national government. We are in a way cooperating, supporting the national government in its effort to make our people understand, submit to vaccination. As in fact, as I said earlier, Mr. Chair, the local governments in Metro Manila even realize all these situations now. Some of them, so many violations have been committed by others. But in spite of that, so that these people will be able to encourage, so that we don't have to have a strong arm to make these people submit. We don't have to. We don't have to submit for penalties, fines, and so forth.
Honorable Barroso, you don't want to defer or withdraw your motion?
Yeah.
Or
may I suggest? Okay, let us, since the chair is ready to submit this for decision, I would go for the decision. Submit it for division of the House, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Since there is an objection from Attorney Sanggalang, I would like to, I don't know if I'm on the, I believe we are on the right track. We will divide the House. So please, those who are in favor of the motion of Honorable Barroso to pass a resolution giving incentives to those communities having achieved the herd immunity as attested to by local ATF, please raise your right hand. None?
Aye.
Aye.
Or say aye.
Aye. Or say aye. There are two, Honorable Tortola and Honorable Barroso. Can I have the SP Secretary's comment on how many those who have voted in favor?
Mr. Chair.
Secretary,
Mr. Chair.
Your
I
Honor.
believe there are only two. Now those who are,
Mr. Chair, may I?
Mr. Chair,
yes,
Can we just roll call, Mr. Chair, so that individually we can get the votes, because we cannot count the votes in this kind of one.
okay.
You
We will
cannot
do
see
that.
us, Mr. Chair. Just roll call, Mr. Chair. That's just a suggestion, Mr. Chair, and then we will cast our votes during our roll call, Mr. Chair. If the body will agree, Mr. Chair, so that it will be clear.
That would be fair, Mr. Chair. The suggestion of Honorable Aldiger.
Secretariat,
Yes, sir.
Secretariat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, have you heard the proposal of Honorable Aldeguer that we'll have a roll call, then every name you should post so that we can get the vote of that member?
Yes, sir.
Are you, is that understood?
Understood, sir.
Okay. Can you now start?
Okay, sir. Honorable Councilor Nico P. Aldeguer.
I abstain, Mr. Chair.
abstain.
Honorable Councilor Rindun P. Sanggalang.
Nay, Mr. Chair.
No, that's no, Madam Secretary.
Yes, sir. Is that abstain, sir? Objection? No.
No. The Honorable Sanggalang is no.
Yes, sir. Copy, sir. Honorable Councilor Holly Simon Santo.
No, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Councilor Erwin A. Damasco.
No, Mr. Chair, no.
Honorable Councilor Cromwell Keril Didin Layan. Abstain.
Then, okay.
Honorable Councilor Lowell M. Tortola.
In favor, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Honorable Barroso.
Honorable Tortola is yes.
Honorable Councilor Victor M. Barroso. Yes.
I believe.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Barroso is yes.
Honorable Councilor Christopher B. Soria. Honorable Councilor.
Abstain, Just Chair.
Honorable Councilor Kathleen Cecil C. Pagaling.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Honorable Councilor Bonifacio G. Valiente.
Valiente, asa naman?
Liente.
Mr. Chair, counted to Mr. Chair.
Ang imo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Abstain.
Yes, it's abstain. Am I correct?
Correction, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Abstain?
Okay, thank you. Honorable Valiente is not around, Secretariat. Can you proceed?
Honorable Councilor Renato E. Sumbungan. Absent. Honorable Councilor Dave Julian Ibalore.
Honorable Balori, I think is not around also.
Wala siya.
Can we have a
Na siya.
Can we have the
Pila siya?
actual count or actual tally, Secretariat?
For a while, Your Honor. Ang abstain, pila. Ang no. Ang favor, pila. Ang favor kay 3, ang no kay 3 abstain. Ha? Ang favor is 3. Ang abstain, 4. Ang no is 2. Your Honor, there are 4 councilors abstain. 3 councilors say no. 3 councilors say yes.
I believe there's a tie. I believe under the rules of our internal rules of procedure, I'm required to break the tie as your presiding chair for the moment.
Okay, abstain.
I would like the Secretariat to please take note of my vote.
Noted, Mr. Chair.
For the moment, I say yes. For the moment, I say no, Secretariat.
So the
Mr.
final.
Chair, Mr. Chair, may I, if I heard you
Yes.
correctly, you said first, for the moment I say yes, then you said later on, for the moment I say no. Which is which, Mr. Chair?
Abstain.
Which is which, Mr.
No.
Chair?
I really, my point really is I've got the both sides. I've got both sides, but for the purpose of convenience and to test the rules of our procedure, if this is effective, I am voting no. I'm voting no. So I believe there are 4 no against 3 yeses and 3 abstain. So the resolution is now being deferred for the meantime, as it was struck down by the
Disapprove.
yes. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you, Your
Thank you
Honor.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Can we proceed? I would like to recognize Honorable Monsanto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. Again, I am proposing to pass an urgent resolution, Mr. Chair. This is in relation to my privileged speech, wherein I am bringing out to the body the situation of the boundary conflict case between the City of Malaybalay and the Municipality of Impasugong. As already mentioned, Mr. Chair, the matter has been put in archive by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, who is supposed to rule and to decide on this matter, Mr. Chair. We do not know the reasons of their archiving. So, for this purpose, Mr. Chair, I am moving to pass a resolution requesting the members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of the province of Bukidnon to revive the boundary conflict case between the City of Malaybalay and the Municipality of Impasugong, and to further set the hearing, whether it would be preliminary hearing, a status hearing, or a pre-hearing, Mr. Chair. I so move for the adoption of my resolution, Mr. Chair.
Any second?
Second.
Any amendment to the resolution? Any
Mr. Chair.
discussion?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes. Honorable Delayan is recognized. Go ahead, Honorable Delayan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to my distinguished colleagues. I'm just asking, Mr. Chair, that before we will gonna tackle the said boundary dispute, may we ask our SP Secretary that we will be furnished of a copy of the aforementioned case, Mr. Chair, in order that we can have a bird's eye view of the said case. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Can I say something, Mr. Chair?
yes, go ahead, Honorable Monsanto.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we don't have the entire file of this case. It is with the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Mr. Chair. What document I was able to secure is only the certification from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan Secretary stating to the effect that this case has been archived since a number of years, Mr. Chair. So much to our desire to see the copy of the entire case, Mr. Chair, we cannot at this moment produce the same. But with the suggestion of Honorable Dinlayan, Mr. Chair, maybe we can ask the services of our Sangguniang Panlalawigan staff to secure to us even a photocopy of the records of this case from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the suggestion of
Dinlayan?
Honorable Attorney Monsanto. I submit with his wisdom, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dinlayan and Honorable Monsanto. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Monsanto to have his resolution be approved and adopted. Am I correct, Honorable Monsanto? It's already
Yes, Mr.
for
Chair.
approval?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
be
for approval,
approved.
Mr.
Yeah. There's a motion of Honorable Monsanto to have his resolution be approved as duly seconded. Is hereby approved. So ordered. Since we are on a third reading, those who are in favor of the said resolution, please say aye or raise your right hand.
Aye.
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 Secretariat. I think it's unanimously approved, so ordered.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Any other? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Monsanto. Any other matters to be discussed from floor?
Mr. Chair.
Honorable Adinlayan, do you have any other matter? Yes, Honorable
Mr.
Honorable
Chair.
Barroso.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
May I, if it is possible, Mr. Chair, to issue an invitation to the DPWH District 2, our district here, to give us information on the status of the circumferential road traversing from Kalasungay, circumferential farm to market road, traversing from Kalasungay to Canayan. What is the present status? I think we would like to know the progress going of this project, Mr. Chair. I understand that this is a national government project, but because it is within the city of Malaybalay, we would like to know the progress of this project, Mr. Chair. So if we can invite any representative from the DPWH about this
DPWH.
subject.
Do you intend to invite any representative from the city engineering, Honorable Barroso?
DPWH. DPWH, because
Or
this
only
is not our project.
DPWH?
Because the PWH national, because this is a national project, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
Especially the one in charge of the project, the engineer.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope the Secretariat took note of that. Yes, Honorable Dinlayan, I've seen you standing there.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to be clarified, Mr. Chair, if we will gonna invite either the Bukidnon DPWH or the regional DPWH.
It's the
Yes,
region.
I think we will ask the Secretariat to know what department is handling that, so that that department will be the one that will be invited. If it is handled by the local DPWH, we will have the local DPWH. Otherwise, we will have the regional
The regional.
DPWH who's handling that.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Honorable,
may I suggest,
okay.
Mr. Chair, because last we had a committee meeting with the Committee on Engineering and Public Works with the presence of the DPWH Bukidnon. They said, Mr. Chair, that the in charge of that is the National DPWH. Therefore, we will invite the regional office, Mr. Chair, regional DPWH. If there's no representative coming from the region, then we can invite the Bukidnon DPWH.
Okay. We will follow that. We will follow that order, Honorable Dinlayan. And Honorable Dinlayan, may I know the status of the request of the HP of those solar lights traversing the how do you call that? The road from Daluangan to San Jose?
For our information, Mr. Chair, last regular session, we had a referral coming from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, sponsored by Board Member John Beltran, and a resolution was passed that the DPWH National Office, National or Region, they have approved the same, Mr. Chair, regarding our request for the solar LED street lights along the diversion road together with other signages.
Okay, thank you. So it's just a matter of time.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Dinlayan.
Welcome, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Barroso. Your motion has been noted. Any other matters?
Other matters, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
I may allow.
Yes, go ahead, Honorable
Thank you,
Tortola.
Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair. Under the Committee of Finance, Banking, Accounts, and Appropriation, because one of the barangay kapitan was called up for the urgency of their supplemental budget. If I may allow, I will render an oral committee report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead. Is that committee report now?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This refers to the communication which has been endorsed to us on this session, the letter dated June 25 and letter dated June 21, coming from our budget officer, Arlene Ho, with regards to the supplemental budget of Barangay Bangkod, Barangay Lagitas, Barangay Tres, and Barangay San Jose, which need an urgent legislative authorization and approval, Mr. Chair. This is needed, and all the budgetary requirements as submitted was been certified true and correct by the local finance committee. And with that, Mr. Chair, I move for the approval of my oral committee report, Mr. Chair.
Any second?
Second.
Any amendment? Discussion? Objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Tortola to have his oral committee report be adopted is hereby approved. So ordered. Go ahead, Honorable Tortola. What's your recommendation?
Yes. Since the reading rule is still effective, Mr. Chair, I move to pass an urgent resolution for legislative authorization and approval of the supplemental budget number 1 for current year 2021 of Barangay Bangkod, Barangay Lagitas, Barangay Tres, and Barangay San Jose. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. Any amendment? Discussion? Objection? Hearing none, the motion of Honorable Tortola is hereby approved. So ordered. Since we're on a third reading, those who are in favor of the resolution as mentioned by Honorable Tortola, please raise your right hand or say aye.
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 Unanimously approved. Unanimously approved. Any other matters? Any other matters? Hearing none, I believe at 2:47, the chair now declares an adjournment of the session. So ordered. Everyone, thank you.
Thank you.